finite state machines are one of the things that you've got to know at A levels, but also one of the things that are extremely fundamental in computer science when you go to higher education like university. They're pretty much a model of computation, a mathematical model of computation that allows you to view systems that only have a finite number of states. If that doesn't make sense now, it will in a few minutes. But the good thing about FSMs is that they are extremely straightforward to understand, and they all follow 3 simple rules. The first rule is that they are all finite. They're all finite. If you have something which is infinite, you automatically know you cannot use an FSM to express it. The second thing is, FSMs are indicated at their start with an arrow that comes out of nowhere. So something a bit like this. This arrow right here shows you that it's a start of the FSM. And the third thing is, accept states, which I'm going to get to in a second, are denoted with double rings. So if I had something a bit like this, and I called it S0, state 0, you would know that for any input that you give, it will be accepted here. But don't worry about that, we're going to get onto that in a second. I mean, the most easy FSM is probably going to be something which looks a bit like this. You have let's just apply the rules that we just, disclosed. We have this here, which shows that the FSM starts over here at state 0. We have this double ring, which shows it's also an accept state. So for any input, if it lands in S0, it will be accepted, and it's finite. We only have 2 states, 0 and 1, and that's all we can have. So the main things that they really ask you in A-levels, or one of the things they could ask you in A-levels, is giving you a string or a patterns of string. Would the input be accepted? So let's just say I had the input of 1 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 1. This is the most easy thing ever. All you're gonna do is trace it with the arrows. So I would start here, obviously because it starts at S0 shown by the arrow. I would then go, okay, what's the first number? It's gonna be a 1. So we're gonna follow the arrow. 1, and then it's a 0, we're gonna go here. And then it's a 0 again, we're going to go here. And then it's a 0 again, we're going to go here. And then it's a 1, we're going to go here. And then it's a 1, we're going to go here again. And now it's a 0, we're going to go here. And then it's another 0, we're going to go here. And then it's a 1. Where have we ended up? We've ended up in S1. Is S1 an accept state? No, it's not, because it doesn't have the double ring here. So if the question would ask you, would this be accepted? You would say, pretty clearly, no, because when we trace it with the arrows, it ends in a state which is not the accept state. So here's another example of a finite state machine. We've got one here which controls a safe. So we're going to start and open, and when we go from, if we want to close the safe, we're going to go here, and then now we're in state closed. We can lock the safe also, and now we're in state locked. It's literally as easy as that. Follow the arrow, and then you go into that new state. Another thing they could definitely ask you is, looking at this table, can you tell me what it's going to say in these boxes based on the FSM that we've given you above? That's also extremely easy. So it's giving you the input of close. Well, input is always going to be what's being traveled across these arrows. You have what you call the state, and then you have the input which takes you to the next state. So in this scenario here, the input is close. So if it's locked and we close it, we have to leave that as an X or just blank, because there is no way for it to be the input to be closed and then locked, because if we see have locked, there is no available option here for close. And it's the same thing for closed and close. If we have the input of close and the current state of closed, it cannot be, because this input is coming from open. And it says the current state is open, so this must have come from closed for it to work. Therefore, the only way it can work is if it's opened and closed, because you have the input of close safe coming from the current state of open. If we apply that to the next column, it's the same logic. Input of lock and current state open. It cannot be, because we have a current state of open and an input of lock safe, but look at the distance from these two. It doesn't work, obviously. The only possible way it could work is if we have an input of lock safe and a current state of close, which, as you can see, is where these two overlap. And then it's the same thing for unlock and open. You can see we have locked, and we have the input of unlock that takes you to closed, and we have closed and an input of open which takes you to open. So that's pretty much what this table is doing. It's just telling us for any input and for any current state, what is the result going to be? Well, in this case, obviously, we got an input of close, and it's come from open. What's the outcome going to be? It's going to be open, follow the close safe. Look at that, close, and that's what we have written here.